There are 1,000 ways that dates can be valuable in your database, and just as many variations on how they're formatted or displayed. They can be written out longhand for use on business letters or abbreviated for use on payroll checks. They can be incorporated into serial, production, or batch ID numbers, or used for quarterly financial reporting. Because Access stores dates as serial numbers, as we saw in the previous movie, we have an infinite number of ways that we can display that data. One of the ways that we can do this is with the format function. Let's create a query that uses this format function. I'll create a new query in Design View, and we're going to use our orders table here. From my orders table, I'm going to add in the order ID field, the order date field, and actually I want to get the product name as well. So we'll go to Show Table, turn on our products table, and from there, we'll use the name field from the product. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how we can modify our order date data. I'm going to come into the next blank column here, right-click, and go to Build. Now I'm going to go into the Functions category here, into Built-in Functions, but this time, instead of going to the date time functions, I'm going to come down here and find the group called Text. The format function that we're going to use actually returns your dates as a string of text, so that's why we can find it underneath the text category here. Let's go over here into the expression values and find the function called format. Down here on the bottom, we can see that the format function returns a string containing an expression formatted according to instructions contained in a format expression. That's a little bit wordy, so let's go ahead and work through this. I'm going to double-click on this format expression over here, which will add all of the syntax up here to the top. Now, if we wanted additional help with this function, we can just click on this blue hyperlink here, which will load up the Microsoft help document for this function. Let's go ahead and close that out. The format function has 4 arguments. The 2 that are required here are expression and format. The first day of week and first week of year arguments are both optional, so we can actually get rid of them. I'm going to highlight everything here, starting with this comma after format, but stopping before the close parenthesis. And we'll just go ahead and press the delete key to get rid of those 2 optional arguments. So here's what we need to do. We're going to go ahead and select this expression argument here. This is where we're going to feed the function our dates. So let's go ahead and find that date. I'm going to go into the database, into the tables, and into the orders table, and I'll just double click on order date. That'll populate the syntax or the path to the order date column. The next argument is our format argument. And here is how we're going to tell it how to format our dates. For that, I need to explain a little bit more about how this is going to work. To use the format function, we saw that we had 2 arguments. The first is where our dates are going to be coming from. Here I have this labeled as our date field. The second argument is where we're going to put in a series of symbols that tell the format function how to format our dates. So what are we going to use for our symbols? Well, here we're going to use a couple of letter codes. We'll use the letter D to represent our days, the letter M to represent our months, the letter Y for years, and the letter Q for quarters. Now the number of D's, M's, Y's, and Q's that we use will instruct the format function how to format our dates. If we use one letter D, for instance, that'll take our date component and return either a 1 or 2-digit number of the day. If we type in 2 D's, that'll tell Access to return a 2-digit day of the month. For instance, the first 9 days will be padded with a leading 0. If we type in 3 D's, that'll return the day of the week as an abbreviation. So MON for Monday, TUE for Tuesday, and so on. And if I use 4 D's, that'll tell Access to return the full day of the week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The same thing applies with our months. If I use one letter M, that'll return the number of the month. So 1 for January, 3 for March. If I use 2 M's, that'll return a 2-digit month. If I use 3 M's, that'll return a 3-letter abbreviation for the month. And if I use 4 M's, it'll return the full name of the month. Now for years, we only have 2 options. I can use 2 Y's to represent a 2-digit year, or 4 Y's for a 4-digit year. So those are the symbols that we need to use in the expression. We can also mix in any other symbols like hyphens, periods, slashes, and so on to format our dates in any way that we want. So let's go ahead and apply some of these back in Access. So back in the expression builder, this is where we left our function. We have the format function being applied to the order date column from our orders table. Now we're ready to fill in those symbols that we just looked at. So I'm going to click on the word format here and type in an open quote. Now I just type in the symbols and any hyphens or periods or slashes that I want. So for instance, I'm going to start with just 3-letter M's and then a closing quote. This will tell the format function to take my dates and return a 3-letter abbreviation for the month. Let's go ahead and say OK to see how this works. I'm going to go ahead and press run, and we'll see that it takes our dates and extracts just the 3-letter abbreviation for the month. Let's go ahead and go back into Design View. And I'm going to go over here to this column. I'll right-click and go back into the builder. Let's try another one. I'm going to click on these symbols here, and we're going to delete the 3 M's. And inside of the quotation marks, let's try another. Let's type in a D, a dash, an M, a dash, and 2 Y's. Let's go ahead and see what that one looks like. I'll press OK and press Run. Now we can see that our dates are formatted with either a 1 or 2 digit day, a 1 or 2 digit month, and a 2 digit year. All of these are separated by a hyphen. Let's go back into Design View and try one more. I'll come back down into this grid. I'll go back into the builder. And this time I'm going to highlight these letters and delete them again. Let's do one that's a little bit more verbose. I'm going to type in 4 Ds, which should return the full day of the week. I'm going to type a comma and a space. Then I'm going to type 4 M's, which will return the full name of the month, a space, 2 more D's, which will return the day of the month, a comma, a space, and then 4 Y's, which should return a 4-digit year. Let's go ahead and say OK. Once again, I'll run my query, and we'll see the results over here. So now we get dates that are represented like this: Thursday, January 8th, 2009. So as you can see, the format function can be pretty flexible in how you display dates and can satisfy almost any reporting need that you might require.